Hi, I'm Jerry Meints.
And I'm Deborah Meints, and it's a family affair. Welcome.
You know, Deb, today our topic has to do with the warrior's path. And warriors is a concept that's come out of Carlos Castaneda, Dan Millman, who wrote The Peaceful Warrior. There's a lot of interesting dialogue and ideas about how men can become all they can be. And you know, it's kind of a sad world, at least in our modern culture, is that we really lack what ancient tribal cultures enjoyed all the time, and that was mentors who took young men and carried them through these rites of passages into manhood, that, you know, really taught them how to be in their culture, hunters and warriors, chieftains and shaman.
It's like Bill, one of our therapists at work, was saying, and he did some of the work with Robert Bly, who did some depth psychology and experiential work with men to get their sense of warriorship back. He said when the elder would take a young man out into the wilderness for a rebirthing experience, not only did he bring him into this experience, but he believed that the young man would survive it. And he would not only survive it, but it would break open the small container of boyhood and usher him in a very powerful way into the world as a warrior spirit who was there to bless the tribe. And it was the belief of the elder that inherent in this young man was that quality that sustained him through the hardship of that horrendous experience of rebirth.
And the belief, as Bill, and that's Dr. Bill Harrison, mentioned, is that unlike our culture where you got to have winners and losers, in ancient tribal cultures, everybody's a winner. Every young man is expected to make it through this passage and become a better man.
Because you have to. You're a tribe. You're depending on you're as strong as your weakest link.
Yeah.
So in a culture where you really see that cause and effect, everyone has to be brought to their greatest potential. Through this initiation experience, we're going to see your God-given gifts. You're going to see them. And you're going to go through a period of time where you're not going to eat. You're going to be left out in the cold, which looks very cruel in Western culture, where we tend to insulate ourselves from these experiences. You're going to feel like you're going to die. And we're going to be holding this belief that you're going to make it through. And when you do, you're going to encounter a deeper self that's only available to you through the initiation process. And that deeper voice is going to speak to you and tell you what your genius is. And we know that the root of that word genius is the attendant spirit at your birth.
There it is.
The very thing that your Creator put in you to contribute to the wellness of the tribe.
You know, Deb, I was amazed as you were talking, because the very first segments you were discussing about, you know, being put out in the cold and left alone and having to rise to this occasion.
Don't do it now, they'll call Child Protective Service.
That's right. Well, actually, that sounded like military training, okay? But what was missing in that military training was the adventure inward to find that inner genius and to emerge from that training, because, you know, as we know in the military, we're not here and we're not paid to think, we're paid to follow orders. So therein lies one of the dramatic distinctions between ancient tribal rites of passage and, you know, this modern mass society future shock that we're in, is that in our modern cultures, we're not invited to go within. We're also not encouraged to invite spirit in those rites of passages, because in modern cultures where, you know, families are sometimes violent or broken, the initiation into manhood is not facilitated by elders. In fact, most people don't even realize it's their duty to become an elder. Instead, most of the initiation into manhood occurs in these male subcultures, which are typically military, gang-based, drug or alcohol addiction-based, criminal, or just violent subcultures. And so it's a very, very sad situation.
Or it's competitive. It's like, you know, you're on the sports
winners and losers,
teams
right?
Or you're competing academically, And, well, there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, competing academically and competing in a sports situation.
Right.
Which leads us into the next part of wisdom cultures. It's not just about competition, it's about cooperation.
Right.
And men are also taught to cooperate with women.
Deb, unfortunately...
And a greater respect for women with her as well.
Unfortunately, the way things are in our modern society is that men are isolated. And, you know, I work with 5 men's groups a week. I see, you know, hundreds of men a week, and we have many, many groups, probably 20 men's groups here in the Valley. And the incredibly surprising, but yet most consistent message I hear from men is they don't trust other men. Mm-hmm. You know, the story was told, you know, men are going to either, you know, try to kick my butt, steal my stuff, or sleep with my woman. Mm-hmm. And so there's this hypervigilance and mistrust of men. And some of that disappears in the male bonding rituals that men get into. But when you start asking them about what's really going on inside, what their anxiety is connected to, like we talked about last week, it's this mistrust of men. Mm-hmm. And so there's one thing that's happening, and you know, Robert Bly was certainly prime mover in this shift in our culture, is there is a movement towards men's groups. Mm-hmm. And actually laws and culture have helped, because there's domestic violence groups, there's parenting groups, there's anger management groups, there's men's groups that are required, men's recovery groups from addiction, that are required to help men you know, become better men. And what is truly happening is that usually and hopefully in every group there is a mentor, a leader who is on the warrior's path and can teach men, neophytes, uninitiated men, about the characteristics of warriorhood.
Right, that's really important. We got to get to that.
You know, and there's 8 steps I want to try to cover that describe the warrior's path. And first is responsibility. And Deb, by that I don't just mean, you know, showing up when you say you're going to be there or paying the bills that you owe, but responsibility is defined in a more global sense. And that is that everything we do has a consequence, and that if things are going wrong in our life, if we look at it really carefully, we can see that we created it, we attracted that. So one of the quotes out of Carlos Castaneda, his stories about Don Juan, are that, oh, so life's great, good, you did it. Oh, so life sucks, great, you did it.
And one thing I want to just interject here, for what you've disclosed to me many times and what I as a therapist have discovered, is a lot of times people don't understand the distinction between when they were truly victimized and when they're victimizing.
Right.
Many of the men, when they're in these groups, these healing groups, will disclose that they were abused as children. They were truly victims.
Right.
And they need to process that pain and have it, and not be ashamed of it anymore, and compare notes with the other men who were abused as well.
Exactly.
And then, and only then, can they really take a look at how they have grown up to be victimizers, how now they are inflicting, because it's too painful to feel, or they don't believe in justice anymore. So they go out there in a vigilante sort of way and stop seeing how they're now recreating the past.
Exactly.
With their violent relationships and their self-medicating.
And passing on that abuse to the next generation.
Right.
So, yeah, you're right. Underneath every angry man is a wounded child. And helping men to feel that this is a safe environment in which to process some of that is one of the first and most important steps. You know, the second step on the warrior's path is impeccability. And that just simply means do the very best you can in every situation.
That's right. One day at a time, like they say in the 12-step program, because it's so difficult to be impeccable. It's so difficult to say, I'm going to do my very best today with God's help. And if I fall down, I'll forgive myself. But my goal is to make the world a better place because I'm in it, and to do things, to be caring of myself and other people, and to do good work and take responsibility for how my words affect other people and how my actions affect other people.
There it is. And you know, Deb, we're going to be back to cover the other 6 steps along this warrior's path.